Our story begins inside the finance building of Hating Group. Our MC is arguing with his boss, saying he also worked on the project, so why won't they put his name on it, so he can receive a share too? However, the bald boss shamelessly says that everything Chun created belongs to him, because in this company, he is the boss. Hearing that nonsense, our boy clenches his fist and says that makes no sense before walking out of the office, saying only a fool would continue working there. Back at his desk, he starts packing his belongings while his co-workers call him Yang Chun and tell him to calm down. They remind him he still has bills to pay and needs to support his girlfriend and even her father. Chun quietly looks at the photo of his girlfriend he always kept on the desk before saying that when his parents passed away, they at least left him a car and a house. So for now, he will work as a ride-hailing driver. He heads to the company parking lot and calls his girlfriend. But after hearing he plans to become a driver for a while, she immediately says she wants to break up because she knows he can't give her the life she wants.
Emotional, damn it!
Chin quickly tries calling her back, but the poor guy realizes he has already been blocked. Leaning against the car, he cries and says this day, somehow, keeps getting worse. At this point, even his shadow probably wants to abandon him too. Still, he forces himself to move on. He opens the car door and says there is nothing else he can do except continue living. To hide his emotions, he even makes a foolish face before suddenly receiving a notification saying a ride 1 kilometer away has been found. Without thinking, he accepts immediately because unemployed people cannot afford pride. After a while, he arrives at the pickup point, but the female customer casually says she is still finishing her makeup. Chun angrily asks why she ordered an Uber if she has not even finished getting ready yet. The girl calmly replies that if he refuses to wait, she will leave him a 1-star review. Chun scoffs and says he does not care about that nonsense before hanging up. Immediately, the app informs him that he has received a negative review for disrespecting the customer. But suddenly, a sparkling sound appears and scares him. A mysterious girl appears before him and wow, this one definitely never skipped lunch in her life. She says he has been selected to receive the negative review system and asks if he wants to accept it. Confused, Chin asks what exactly this negative review system is. The well-nourished girl explains that it works exactly as the name suggests. As long as he receives negative reviews, he will obtain everything he wants. Since he has nothing to lose anyway, Chin immediately accepts. The girl then advises him that besides negative reviews, it is also good to receive positive ones so he can continue getting rides. Because he just received a complaint, the system rewards him with 28% shares of a certain island hotel group and tells him he must go there immediately to claim them. Chun accepts it right away, saying a free reward is still a reward. Right then, another ride request appears asking to go to that exact island hotel. With swollen eyes from crying earlier, Chun accepts the ride and arrives at the pickup point. The woman enters the car, and Chun starts driving toward the destination. However, the moment he glances at the rearview mirror, the girl immediately asks why he keeps staring at her. Embarrassed, Chun explains that he was looking at the road through the mirror because he actually needs to drive properly. Annoyed, she complains that he drives too slowly and clearly does not know how to drive. At that point, Chun suddenly speeds up. The girl instantly panics and starts crying, begging him to slow down, but now it is already too late. She tightly grabs the seat and begs him again to stop speeding. Chun calmly says he will not crash because he is inside the same car too. But if she wants him to slow down, she has to call him daddy. Desperately crying, the girl obeys. Only then does Chun brake the car, stopping directly in front of the island hotel. The girl gets out trembling and says he went too far. She threatens to leave another negative review and even report him to the police. But because of a negative review, the system immediately informs Chun that he will now receive ownership of the hating building. Hearing that, Chun becomes excited because it is the same building where he used to work. He then enters the hotel, and standing beside the receptionist is the same girl he drove earlier. She immediately calls him a perverted stalker and asks what he is doing there. However, Chun ignores her and calmly says he also has a reservation there. He shows his phone, and a receptionist confirms that his seat is table 8. She also hands him documents for the share transfer. Chun proudly walks away while the well-nourished girl secretly thinks maybe she judged him wrongly, although she still refuses to forgive him for the crazy driving earlier. A waitress soon brings Chun coffee while the well-nourished girl walks past him angrily before greeting a man waiting nearby. Only then does Chun realize she is there for a blind date. At that moment, something catches his attention. A bald man enters the hotel with two girls that honestly look like supermarket mannequins that came to life. One of the blonde girls notices Chun immediately and tells the bald man to wait while she walks toward the protagonist. She asks Chun why he is there when Fei Fei already broke up with him. Chun replies that she should not think too highly of herself because he has no interest in a woman dating someone old enough to complain about knee pain every morning. The blonde girl instantly becomes angry and glares at him fiercely. From behind her, the bald Mr. Lee calls out, asking if everything is alright. She quickly turns around and says she is fine before telling him to head to the table first because she will be there soon. Only then does Chun realize the blonde girl is actually his ex-girlfriend. Now, curious, the bald man asks who Chun is. Chun calmly replies that he is Fei Fei's ex-boyfriend before asking if the bald guy is the new fool. Hearing that, the bald man grabs Fei Fei's chin and asks if it is true. The most dishonest girl in China immediately claims that she broke up with Chun long ago and that he has been stalking her ever since.
Women.
The bald man comforts her and says she does not need to cry because he will handle Chun himself. He then warns Chun to stop bothering his girlfriend before asking the receptionist to call the manager. Fei Fei pretends to look worried and tells Chun it is better for him to leave before he gets into trouble. Meanwhile, the well-nourished girl sitting nearby says Chun is weird, but now she is curious to see how he plans to solve the situation. The man on the blind date with her asks if she knows Chun, but she replies that he is just the driver who brought her there. She also complains that he drove recklessly and almost killed them both, which is why she left him a negative review. Hearing that, the guy immediately stands up angrily and says he will teach Chun a lesson. He walks toward Chun while the girl tells him to wait. Arriving in front of him, the guy asks if he was the one who drove Miss Wong there. Chun calmly says yes and asks what the problem is. The man proudly says he is Miss Wong's blind date and orders Chun to kneel and apologize immediately or he will be kicked out of the hotel. Chun looks at him calmly and says he is very brave before asking who exactly his father is. The guy proudly replies that his father is the president of an investment group planning to invest in this hotel. Chun simply responds that he is curious to see what exactly they plan to do against him. At that moment, another man approaches. It is a blonde guy shamelessly sucking up to Mr. Lee, saying they have not seen each other in a long time. Then he notices the other young master nearby and quickly greets him too, saying meeting both of them together today is truly his lucky day. Mr. Lee proudly says today is his girlfriend's birthday, but a troublesome brat has been bothering him. So could the blonde guy have him kicked out? The other young master also joins in, saying he was offended during his blind date and wants that guy thrown out too. The blonde manager laughs and says the kid must be very bold before asking who exactly they are talking about. The two immediately turn around and point toward Chun, saying it is the jerk sitting over there. However, the moment the blonde manager sees Chun clearly, his expression changes completely because he just attended a meeting where they introduced Chun as one of the new shareholders of the hotel. Without hesitation, he immediately orders security to throw out the bald guy and the other young master instead. Mr. Lee instantly shouts that the manager must be crazy because he is one of the hotel's suppliers. Meanwhile, Zhang angrily says his father was even planning to invest in the hotel. Ignoring them, the blonde manager walks toward Chun respectfully and introduces him as the hotel's second largest shareholder. Hearing that, the bald man and the two Walmart sisters are completely stunned. Miss Wong finally realizes Chun was probably driving around just to experience life, and now his arrogance suddenly makes sense. Chun calmly asks if they did not hear the manager properly before telling them it is time to leave. With tears in her eyes, Fei Fei suddenly says she was stupid for breaking up with him and does not know how to win him back anymore. Then she suddenly kneels and says she never did anything inappropriate with the old man besides holding his hand. The blonde girl beside her quickly says nobody should trust a gold digger like her and even claims Fei Fei is still pretending to be innocent. Meanwhile, Chun just watches the two women fighting each other like it is free entertainment. Honestly, this restaurant suddenly became more dramatic than daytime television. The bald man hurriedly apologizes and says if he had known Chun was Fei's ex-boyfriend, he would never have acted like this. Already tired of all the noise, Chun slams his cup onto the table and tells the receptionist to throw them out immediately. The blonde manager instantly salutes and calls security over. Soon, everyone gets dragged outside except Jang because the manager explains he is still the son of an important investor. However, Chun says he does not care and tells him to throw him out too. Without any other choice, the blonde manager orders security to remove Jang as well and tells him he is no longer welcome there. Jang angrily says Chun only owns shares in this lousy hotel anyway, and he was planning to leave regardless. He then turns toward Miss Wong and asks her to go eat dinner somewhere else with him. Chun notices that even after being humiliated like this, the guy is still interested in Miss Wong, so he shamelessly interrupts and asks if she would like to go on a blind date with him instead. He even picks up a colorful decorative flower and asks if she wants to chat with him. Miss Wong thinks for a moment before deciding that since both men are rich anyway, she might as well choose the more handsome and entertaining one. She walks over and says that since Chun is being so sincere, she accepts his invitation. Hearing that, Jang becomes furious and says she is embarrassing him. However, Miss Wong quickly changes her tone and says he involved himself in the conflict first, so he has no right to blame her. Jang angrily warns that if she humiliates him like this, she will suffer the consequences later. But Chun casually places a hand on her shoulder, sits her down, and says that if Jang dares to do anything, he will handle it himself. Furious, Jang rushes forward and tries punching Chun. However, Chun calmly stops his fist midway and says that is not how a gentleman behaves. At that point, the blonde manager orders security to throw Jang out as well. While being dragged away, Jang angrily shouts that he will call his father. The guy's been threatening to call his dad, so much you would think he still needs permission to cross the road. After that, Chun pours wine for Miss Wong and says it is nice having dinner with her. She thanks him and says she will remove the negative review she left earlier because of everything he did. However, Chun calmly says there is no need because he actually likes negative reviews since they remind him of memorable experiences. The two toast together while the people nearby stare in shock after seeing Chun completely crush the blonde young master with pure money and status. Miss Wong quickly asks the question she cares about most and wonders how Chun's parents make their money. Chun calmly explains that his parents died long ago and that he currently works as a ride-hailing driver. Meanwhile, Miss Wong explains that she came from the countryside and now works in a luxury store because she hopes to find someone reliable to settle down with in the city. Hearing that, Chun smiles and says there is nothing wrong with a woman wanting to depend on a man because at least it shows honesty. Miss Wong agrees and raises her glass again. After taking a sip, she explains that she treated him badly during the ride because she was angry at another guy who tried kissing her during a date. Chun replies that she was only angry because she did not like the guy. However, she says that makes no sense because she would never do something like that on the first date. Chun casually says there is no such rule. If she wants, she can even do more adult things on the first date too. Miss Wong says she does not believe anyone would dare kiss a girl on the first date. The next second, Chun stands up, grabs her chin, and kisses her directly. Seriously, this guy's confidence level should honestly be illegal at this point. After the kiss, Chun calmly says he will pay the bill and casually mentions that he will be staying in room 1208 tonight before walking away. Miss Wong sits there completely stunned, wondering why she did not stop him. Then she suddenly realizes he intentionally mentioned the room number. Was that an invitation? Later that night, Chun finishes showering inside room 1208 when the doorbell suddenly rings. The moment he opens the door, he sees Miss Wong standing outside. Chun is just about to say something, but before he can react, she immediately jumps onto him. Looking at him, she softly says it is very hot tonight. Chun smirks and says she was the one who started this. Then he throws her onto the bed. The next morning, Chun wakes up and notices Miss Wong has already left. On the table beside him, she leaves a note saying he was a very good doctor and tells him to use the money she left behind to buy himself a nice meal. Chun laughs and thinks this woman is actually pretty interesting. Back at the hating finance building, Chun walks toward the receptionist and says he came to receive ownership rights for part of the company and that his name is Yang Chun. The receptionist instantly becomes excited and respectfully introduces himself as the administrator of the building. Meanwhile, some of the female employees secretly think Chun looks far too young to own a place like this. Soon, another employee arrives carrying documents and says Chun can ask him if he needs anything arranged. Chun calmly replies that he does not plan to change anything because the current administrators seem to be doing their jobs properly. Hearing that, the administrator happily welcomes him again and tells the staff to properly respect the new boss. The employees immediately bow while Chun thanks them for their hard work. After that, Chun asks the administrator for information about the people renting room 50194. The administrator quickly checks the system and informs him that the tenant upstairs has a contract that is almost ending. Chun nods and says they should go upstairs and take a look. However, while inside the elevator, the administrator suddenly receives a message and awkwardly explains to Chun that unfortunately that's the end of the Manhwa Recap. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you later.